Welcome to navigating the maze of JavaScript conditionals. In this lesson, we're going to transform you into skilled programmers versed in the art of decision-making with conditional statements in JavaScript. We'll delve into the intricacies of if, else, and else-if statements, elucidating their application through practical illustrations. Trust us, by the end of this lesson, these conditionals will no longer be a maze, but a powerful tool in your programming arsenal. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Let's dive in. This is where the adventure begins. Let's start by understanding what conditional statements in programming are. In essence, they are quite similar to the decisions we make each day based on circumstances. For instance, if it's raining outside, you decide to carry an umbrella. In programming, we make such decisions using conditionals. Think of the if statement as a kind of gatekeeper. It essentially says, if this condition is true, then do this specific action. It's as simple as choosing between chocolate and vanilla ice cream. You can see how this plays out in the JavaScript code example on the slide. Note that the condition we check using the if statement must always be wrapped in parentheses. We have a condition that checks if my score is greater than friend's score. If the condition is true, both lines of code within the brackets are executed. However, if my score was actually smaller than friend's score, the statements within the brackets wouldn't be executed. Either way, game over will be printed out since it lies outside the scope of the if block. This is the beauty and simplicity of the if statement. It lets us begin to introduce decision-making into our code. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's continue our dive into conditionals. Often, a situation isn't clear-cut and presents us with more than a single potential outcome. This is where the else statement shines. It provides us the means to account for scenarios that fall outside the requirements of the if condition. Take a look at the JavaScript code on the slide. Here we've established a condition where if my score is higher than friend's score, we cheer ourselves with a victory message. However, if this condition isn't met, the program will move on to the else statement and console us with a motivational message. Just as in real life, where we often have to plan for all eventualities, defining an else statement gives our code a backup plan. It allows us to handle every scenario and keep our program's action consistent, regardless of how the conditions are evaluated. Always remember, in code as in life, preparation is key. Let's move on to the next level of our conditional journey. Let's now tackle scenarios where multiple distinct conditions need to be considered. Real-world decisions often involve more than just one alternative. The same applies to programming. This is where else-if steps in, providing a way to control multiple distinct scenarios. In the JavaScript code snippet on the slide, we've got three possible conditions. Now, our program not only checks whether my score is greater than friend's score, but also checks if it's less than friend's score. If both these conditions are false, meaning the scores are equal, it moves on to execute the else statement. The else-if clause is only checked if the previous if statement is false. If the else-if condition turns out to be true, its block of code will be executed. However, if the else-if condition is also false, the program will descend to another else-if clause or the else statement. This flow decision process gives you the ability to manage complex scenarios, offering granular control over the operation of your program. Always remember, the more conditions you can handle in your programming, the more robust and adaptable your code can be. Let's keep navigating the maze of JavaScript conditionals. Let's now take a moment to comprehend how logical operators amplify the power of conditionals in JavaScript. Logical operators enable the evaluation of multiple conditions at once, adding another layer of complexity and decision-making power to our code. In JavaScript, we use the double AND operator to check if both conditions are true, double vertical bar to check if either one is true, and exclamation to negate a condition. Refer to the JavaScript code on the slide. We're checking multiple scenarios, including whether it's a sunny weekend, a non-sunny holiday, a weekend or a holiday, or neither. Each scenario corresponds to a different course of action. This example illustrates how logical operators help us craft rich and complex conditional logic, giving us even more control over how our code behaves. Congratulations! You've now traversed the fundamental landscape of conditionals in JavaScript. We started our journey exploring the basic principle behind conditionals, understanding how they control and direct the flow of code, much like decision-making in real life. We dove deep into the usage and importance of if, else, and else-if statements, each offering unique ways to influence how a program reacts to different conditions. Furthermore, we've grappled with multiple conditions using logical operators, unlocking an even higher level of complexity and control in our code. Remember, practice makes perfect, so keep coding, experiment with different scenarios, and continue to engage with conditional statements. Remember, every increment of knowledge brings you a step closer to mastering the art of coding. Happy exploring!